Hey, welcome to Mike's Trains, and thanks for joining me for another video. As you can see, we're back in the train room here, and I've started doing the parking lot for these two buildings. And I'm going to go over what I've done here, and then what I want to do is I want to get this road stripes in, and I want to do the parking lot stripes in here. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. But I wanted to show you what it looks like in place and exactly how I got to this. Alright. So let's pull off a couple of these buildings, and you can kind of see that this piece is a lot bigger. It's a lot bigger than it needs to be. Okay. So you can see it goes out over the tracks and all, and I need to trim this to length, to size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pencil. Now I've already marked at the end of the road over here. I have this so that it just goes past the rails, so I can take this by hand with my hobby knife, and I can just trim this down to where I need it. All right. Now, this side here, I have this already. That's exactly how I want it. Now the back side, I'm going to run this, I'm going to cut it back from the tracks, and I'm going to run it kind of like this. And I'm just kind of eyeballing what I've got here. And that's pretty much it. And then I'm going to cut off all of this backside. Alright, and this is exactly what I need. And I'm not going to cut it now, only because I'm not going to do it down here. I want to do it upstairs at the desk. I can do a much nicer, neater cut job. Now, what this is a sheet of styrene. It's 15 thousandths thick. But there are several sheets here, alright? So there are seams, and I stitched this all together. So the first thing I did was I built this road, this long dark section. Okay, so this is one strip, starts right here at the end, and it comes down to right here. So I cut that out, and then I have the next section, which runs from right here all the way down to, I don't think it goes quite to the end, I think it goes to maybe right here. And then I filled in the rest. And then I added onto that another section. Seam runs right across here and down. Another sheet goes here, up and across, and then more sheet and another sheet over here. And I did that because I can't actually lay my hands on a sheet of 15,000 styrene this big. It's just not available where I live, so I had to do this. And I started out with, I believe they were 8-inch by 14-inch, something like that. I can't remember exactly what size, but they were somewhat about that size. And I bought a pack of them, and they were 6 sheets in a pack, and this took all but one sheet. It was like five of those sheets, and I stitched them all together. Let me show you the back side so you can see what I'm talking about. So what I have here, and these are all the seams. So I got each sheet, and then I'll butt them together, and then I'll use the glue that I use, and I'll take more of the same stuff, and I'll just run a piece of it across both pieces. And I do that for all seams. Now these are all cut at angles and all weird things, because this is where I'm using up all my scrap. Alright, I don't cut new pieces and you know, fancy pieces to fit here. I use up all my garbage on this because it's never going to be seen. So that's what all of this is. So it's all, I call it stitching it together. I don't know what else to call it. So that's what we have here. Now, before I put this on there, I think I showed in the last video. It's been a little while, so I'm trying to remember. So I want to make sure I address everything. I had drawn out the road in here. It goes right here. It's the lines for the road. And that's what gave me the dimensions for the styrene to make the road section. And then I added on from that. Okay. And I had drawn out, if you remember from the last video, all my parking spaces, the building placements and all that stuff, and everything worked out. So from this right here, we come up with this, okay? So all I need to do with this now, because I have my lines down here, is now I can just come in here and I can line up the road to my lines, okay? And just bring it right in there, just like that. And this right down to the edge, just like that. So now I have all that, right? And then as far as the paint goes, all I did, this is just gray primer. Alright, nothing crazy, no airbrushes, no nothing. Gray primer, but the gray primer is from two different companies. Okay, so I believe this one was primer from Cheap Home Depot primer in a spray can. And then I just took a piece of cardboard junk that I had in the garage and I just stood it here and I sprayed another manufacturer's primer. And you can see that the grays and the primers are different colors, which is fine. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I would have preferred the dark being in the parking lot and the lighter being on the road, but it'll still work. It's just fine. It's just a matter of preference for that. So let me get this lined up. Just like this. Okay. So now we need to put the shopping mall on here, the strip mall. And I need to mark off. So now we have the back of this parking lot marked out. Now the strip mall needs to go on here. Okay. Now the strip mall, down at this end, we have the sidewalk across the front, and then it comes all the way to the edge. What I want is for this sidewalk to be on the pavement, but the rest of the building to be off. So I'm just going to push it back like this so that the pavement is right up to the edge of the sidewalk here, right to the end of the building. And I'm going to move this building around until I have it right where I want it. And I want it fully onto my marks in the back over here. Okay, so this looks like pretty much it right here. Alright, just like that. I'm not going to worry about having parking lot on the back side too much. I don't think. I really don't think I'm going to worry about that at all. I'm just worried about the front side. That's what I want to do. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this off. Because I want to know where my building is, right? So I'm just going to trace out the front side here. Like this. Now everything I do from here is going to come off of these dimensions right here. Okay, and then we have the used car dealer, which is going to go in here, and this is going to come over to the side over here, and I'm just going to mark off the front side here. I'm going to come across here, and then I'm going to come down the back side here. I'm just going to trace this all out just like we did, like I did for the other building. Alright. In this way, I can see on top of here, when I have it on the desk, exactly where my lines are. Now, I'm not striping out lines in this place here. I'm not giving any lines to this building at all in the parking lot. But I do have sidewalk that's going to run across the front, and I need to know where the building is so I can work out the entrances and the exits to this parking lot. And the same with this over here. So that's another one of the reasons why I need to know where the building is so I can align my parking spaces. Okay, so now we have that marked out. See, we have this building right here, and we're going to have the next building. So now we need to take this upstairs, and we're going to set up and start taping off for the lines on the road. We want to do the the double center lines, and then white lines on either side, and then all the parking lot markings, all the spaces for the parking lot, and I'll show you what's going to happen with the sidewalk. Now, this video, I'm just going to do one video for this parking lot. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, so this video may end up being long. I don't know. But the parking lot and how I do this, one time, one shot deal. So hang on there, guys, and let's go upstairs and see how I'm going to do this. Okay, so we're up on the desktop now, and I'm sorry, I kind of jumped ahead a little bit here. You can see I've already got this all taped off, and what I've done is I've taped off all of the lines for the parking lot that are in here. I think they show up on the camera okay. So all these gray lines are taped in here. All the road lines, the road stripes, they're all here. So in between the orange here is what's going to be the yellow lines. The white lines on the side of the road go here and here. This will be a double lane road, single lane road over here. And then all the parking lot lines are all set in. Now, how I got here was you remember when we were downstairs, I set the shopping mall in here and I traced out the front and all of the lines for the front of this building. And then I actually traced out the other building, which isn't as big a deal, but it gives me an indication of how much room I'm going to have left over in the parking lot when everything is said and done. Now, from that traced out mark, I started my parking spaces from the end of the sidewalk, and I went in 5/8 of an inch all the way across, and then I wanted them 1.5 inches deep, and then I drew the lines so that they went past the line for the sidewalk that goes across the front. Okay, so they go a little bit further, but they only come out 1.5 inches from the sidewalk edge, so that I can back this up, the building itself, backward or forward a little bit to adjust of how I want it. And then from there, that gave me the placement for this row of parking. I also set up for some lined off areas here that will be no parking zones. This is more like a handicap zone here with the striped lines in it, which look like that. And now I'll have to go back and line this again. I need a solid stripe that's going to border the two sides of this, and then same this side and here, but I can't do those with the tape. And then the road was lined off the same way. So this is where we're at. Yep, it's a lot of tape, and I didn't do this on video because, well, I took my time, and this took me a couple of hours. It took me about an hour to map out all the parking spaces, maybe another hour to, half hour or so to map out the road exactly how I want it, and then it took a couple hours to tape all this up. So to put that onto a video would be a little bit too much. It's just a whole lot of nothing to see here. But this is what it's going to look like. So the next thing I need to do, which I haven't done yet, is I want to go over this with some clear flat paint. I want to airbrush over all the lined parts. And what that's going to do is it's going to seal the tape down in all these places so that if there's any seepage of the paint, it's going to be clear and you won't see it. Okay, so that when I actually put down the color will stay within the lines like I have it here. So that's how we're going to do that. So let me get my airbrush ready, and I'm going to run a clear coat over all of these lines here, and then we're going to come back and we'll start with the color. Okay, so I have my airbrush here, you can see, and I have a bunch of clear flat that I put in here, and I'm just going to spray over all the lines. And I'm not going to worry about overspray or anything like that. And then I have these papers here that I'm using to cover the tarred areas here, because these we don't want to get anything on. So I'm going to leave these covered up. I don't want any overspray, things like that. So I'm just going to spray all of this. Alright, that should do it. You don't need to do a lot. This is what I do anyway. I mean, I'm not saying you have to do this, but I always do, or I try to remember. It just seals the tape to whatever you're painting. So now I'm going to go clean out the airbrush, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to take some white, and we're going to spray everything white, and then we'll move on from there. Alright, so now I have the white, and you can see what's in there. It's a white primer. Nothing special, just surface primer. I'm only using primer because it's all I have that's flat. And I'm just going to go over these, and I want to hold the airbrush back a little bit because I don't want to force any paint under the tape, right? So we just go down from the top very lightly. Alright, so we're going to call this, with the white, we're going to call it done. The lines are not going to be super bright. I want them to look a little faded. So that's what we've got here. I'd peel back a little bit, but still got more to do. Now we have to paint these yellow lines in the road. Now in order to do yellow on a gray surface, you need that white as a base. Otherwise the yellow won't pop and it'll get lost in the colors. So that's why we did the white underneath. Now I have to mix up some yellow, and we're going to spray the yellow lines. So let me get that ready and we'll go on to that. Alright, so now I have some yellow mixed. You can see that right in there. So what that is, it's a bright yellow with just a little touch of red in it, just to get it to the color that we're looking for. Now I'm not going to tape up. I started to tape up and it's too much trouble, more trouble than it's worth. So we're going to have to be really careful and just lightly go over. And that's it. That's all we need. So that's our yellow stripes. So now we're just going to let this dry. I may actually take the hairdryer to it, but I'm going to come back. We'll come back and we'll peel off the tape and we'll see what we have. It's kind of like Christmas, you know, you don't know what you get until you open the present. So we'll come back in a little bit and we'll peel all this off and see what we're left with. Alright, so I've taken all the papers away. This is what we end up with. Let's peel off the tape and see what we end up with. We'll figure this out together. So there it is. I see I do have a mispaint right here. Something bled through. I don't know what that's from, but I can touch that up. So that's it. That's the whole thing. I just need to touch up this little thing. I don't know how that happened. I must have been going blind when I was taping. Like I said, I was doing this for a few hours. So now when you look at this, you can see there's an entrance to the parking lot right here. There's an exit right here. Goes right in here. Entrance to the used car dealer. Exit to the used car dealer. Building sits here, and then the building sits right along here. You can see the pencil line right here that I went, and I went past the pencil line with the stripes so that I have a little bit of flexibility as to where I gotta go. So there you go. That's it. Just one little mistake right here that I can fix up. Now, when this goes downstairs, we have landscaping that's going to go over this seam right here. This will get all buried into the scenery. This seam right here will get buried. This one all the way down. None of these seams will show. So that'll all be. I think this is exactly what I'm looking for. So there you go. That's pretty much all I have for this week. Oh, and I also wanted to say, since we're right on top of Christmas, Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope Santa's kind to everyone. And you all have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So until next time, happy modeling.